Corporate Kenya is littered with a number of companies that were flourishing at some point, and then because of mismanagement, of lack of succession planning, they finally went under. Good morning and thank you very much indeed for joining us. The conversation this morning revolves around restructuring of business as well as succession planning. And the question is, do you have a plan in the case of anything in your business on who is likely to take over? That is the conversation we want to have this morning. It's going to be a wholesome discussion because, as we say, failing to plan in business is planning to fail your business, because there is absolutely no point for you to work so hard, burn the midnight oil, and of course, sweat to start a business, and ultimately it collapses once you are or once you exit, or once you're normal. And so that is why we want to elevate this conversation and ask yourself, do you have a succession plan in your business? And in case your business is not going or headed in the right direction, there is a component that we call, in business, that we call restructuring of the business, reorienting your business, redirecting your business into a profitable venture. This is BizCheck. My name is O'Brien Kimani. This is why you have this kind of conversations. And of course, we are live from Broadcasting House at O'Brien Kimani is my name. At KBC Channel 1 is my Twitter handle, or our Twitter handle. Keep the conversation going. And remember, we have our reporters on the ground tracking what exactly makes news in your county. Stay right here, for this is a conversation coming up next. Very well. I mean, you have had this conversation probably maybe in the past of a number of companies, or what you'd call corporate giants in Kenya, not just in Kenya, but around the world. But in Kenya, we have a number of cases, and we are talking about companies like Nakumatt, a company that was turning or had a turnover of more than 60 billion shillings 5 years ago. We all know the story of Nakumatt. And this is just one typical case of how lack of succession planning can fail a business. And so there you are with your plan of how to move your company from point A to point B. But the question is this: even if you plan to move your company from this level to the next level, do you have a succession plan well written down and ready for execution? That is the question. Because yeah, you can start a business. Oh yeah, it's very easy. But the question is how do you ensure your business endures for many years to come? And we have a number of companies in the world that have lived for generations. I'm not going to mention names because you know them. And so this is a conversation that we want to have. And Stephen Kang'ethe is a business restructuring expert. He is joining us this morning, and he's also the managing director of LILAC. He's joining us to help us put dots to where they ought to be in a bit to ensure that you get it right when it comes to succession planning as well as restructuring your business. Thank you very much indeed, Stephen, for finding time to be with us this morning. Help us understand, first of all, why is it important for you to have a well-outlined succession plan in your business?
Okay, thank you very much, O'Brien, for having me here. It's a good topic you're discussing today. Succession planning is a very important factor and a very important aspect in any business. As long as you want to be in existence for many years, you have to have a plan. Succession planning is one of the plans that is such a broad plan because it has two aspects in succession planning. We can succeed a running company, as in by change of the lectureship, change of leaders, and change of. But our topic today, I would like us to concentrate on succession planning for family businesses or for privately owned businesses, where once the initiator or the founder dies, the business is left, and in most cases it fails. So that is a topic you're going to be handling today. Mm-hmm. Yes.
When you talk to a lot of people or to a lot of businesses, and you ask them, what succession plan has you put in place? A lot of people think about a time when they'll die, or they think, am I going to die soon? Okay, is that the case? I mean, do you have to be very old for you to have a succession plan for your business?
Succession plan is actually a plan for the future. It is not a plan for you to die. It is not preparing you for death. But in any case, all of us have to die. So it goes hand in hand with our lives. When you are born, you have to die. But basically, the importance of succession planning is because when the founder of the company initiates the company, they have a vision, a long-term vision. Now, succession planning is just a facilitation of accomplishing the long-term vision. When you plan long-term. You plan for maybe 100 years or so. Very few people live for 100 years. So succession plan is a plan that will enable even the generations to come and inherit the business and to move to higher heights. So it is very important to have them. Not necessarily because you are dying, but because you want continuity and you want the business to thrive in future. Yeah.
At what point do you start thinking about succession planning?
Actually, you start thinking about succession planning. The very fact that you are doing your business plan is when you start focusing on the future. Succession planning is just a long-term focus of the future. When you start your business, when the business starts having some good grounds, business makes money, doing good business, you start now thinking of, when you start in a business, you just think of the short-term goals to start with. But as you grow, you go expanding the goals to long-term goals. Usually in the mid-40s, one should be thinking of doing a succession plan. Yeah, not necessarily when you're in 60s or 70s. It is preparation of the people to inherit, preparation of the people to take over the business. Not necessarily when you're on your deathbed. It should be when you're still energetic and when you're still working. That is where you should be focusing on your siblings, your young children, how they're going to survive in future. But it's unfortunate that most of the companies in Kenya don't go beyond the first generation. When the owners go, they die with the ideas, they die with the business. The business just follows them. Yeah, so that is important of a succession plan. A succession plan being a long-term plan, it stipulates that in case this happens, this should be done. In case this happens, this should be done. Among the components, important components of this planning is the question of deciding who to take over. If the founder is not there, who should take over? The other important question is how are we going to run this company when the founder is not there without bias? Because family businesses are fond of bias. That this founder preferred this person, though the person is not competent to run the company, but they prefer this. And then another important factor is to check at whether the company's values are going to be retained and whether the person to succeed is going to drive it to higher heights. Basically, those are the underlying factors that one should think even when preparing the succession plan.
You brought about a very interesting concept here because, look, we're in Africa whereby the family unit is a very well-defined unit, and it is assumed that, for example, if you are running a family business, if it is a question of the wife, the husband will take over in the case of anything. Or if it is a question of the husband, exiting the company, it is expected that the wife will take over or the children will take over. But does it have to be that case?
It doesn't have to be that case because at times you evaluate, you do some internal checks. We do what we call a SWOT analysis. The strengths of the dependents, in this case, the weaknesses, the threats, and the opportunities. Once you establish that in your circles, there's no one who is competent enough to handle this challenge, you can think of sourcing from elsewhere. You can even do a listing of the company privately so that it can thrive, it can be run professionally. The mistake
but how do you convince your next of kin that, look here, I've done a SWOT analysis of this business and the employees and the stakeholders, and I have come to the conclusion that we do not have the talent yet to spearhead this company to the next level. And so I have to source from outside. How, first of all, do you have that kind of a conversation with your spouse or with your children?
Actually, one of the challenges in the African business setup is that the man is always right. But when the man goes, the lady takes over. Now, convincing these people, I'll advocate for a culture of talking. You discuss business as a family. You know, not these things of biashara ni ya mzee, the man just talks, and that's it. We should encourage dialogue within the family. Dialogue about the future of the family, dialogue about the business, and when everybody is involved, even themselves, they can do their individual SWOT analysis, and they see that they're not good enough. Like, for instance, if you may be in the industry of pharmaceuticals, maybe a hospital, and no one is trained on that line, it becomes a challenge, and it's easier for you to accept. But you know, men are greedy. Men and women are greedy. So at times it poses some challenges, because when you tell someone that I'm going to leave this to a stranger to run on my behalf, it becomes a challenge.
And I don't think it's a question of you know, men and women, or women, you know, being greedy. It's a question of, I mean, I have been with you along this journey, you know, of starting this company, and probably maybe we started together, and we went through a lot of hustling. We went through a lot of pain. This is a business that we have raised from scratch through our blood, sweat, and tears. And when the company is 10, 20 years old, you all of a sudden you think that I'm not fit enough to take over the reins of leadership in this company. I mean, don't you think that is something that can bring about a conflict?
It brings conflict a lot during family meetings and in businesses, which, you know, the problem that any family that has a problem has a direct impact on the business. If they have a business family, a family business, problems in the family have a direct impact on the business. It is true. It brings a lot of feeling of dishonesty or something. You feel that I'm not wanted, but through dialogue, people come to a consensus. You have to agree that in order for you to be there in future, at times you go for compromise. You go for compromise decisions. You say, it is true, I might not be the right person for this because of A, B, C, and D, because some of the areas are so technical. And now, for instance, handling a big company, and you have no financial background, you have no business background, all you knew was to support the husband, assuming the husband was the proprietor, telling him that you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Just giving moral support. Moral support will not run a company. What will run a company is the technical know-how, the skills, and the motivation. If you don't have those ones, even if you are given the business, I'm sorry.
But how do you start that kind of a conversation when you bear in mind that when you were starting this company, the two of you, probably maybe no one had any business management skills. I mean, this is a business that you saw an opportunity, and in the process you thought, hey, this is a place where we can make an extra coin, and you ventured into it, be it poultry farming, be it dairy farming, be it a transport business. And then you've got into a point whereby now you feel that for me to be part of leadership, I mean, I must have some management skills. So how do you take your family to that kind of a discussion without leaving anyone behind, of course, you know, creating legal conflicts?
Actually, it's a big challenge for most businesses, but in most cases, we have some instances of where people do sit down, they talk as a family, and their businesses thrive. We have the Asian communities. Most of them, as you can see, they work as a family. The Muslim community, the Somali community, they also work as a family. They go there, they work as you nurture your dependents from when they are young, and then they grow with the businesses, so they know the values of the businesses. I was given an instance whereby maybe the children are adults and they're in different areas, not necessarily in that business. It becomes so strange for them, so new for them. But when you grow them together, when you grow the business together with the children, and you actually incorporate them inside, they become part of the business. They get a better understanding. in that case, mostly you give them the power to run it. But where maybe the children are minors or anything, you look for professionals to run the business for them on their behalf until they attain a certain age. Although still, even that one brings some trust issues if the other spouse is still there. Yeah, but life is a matter of compromise.
Let's talk about, scenarios here and of course cite cases that are in the public domain. And we know of this retail chain just the other day. It was thriving. It had more than 60 outlets, in this country. Actually, in Kenya, Uganda, and Rwanda.
It was the leading.
And then when the owner died, he had appointed one of his children to be the heir to take over the mantle of this business. And when the other siblings discovered this was the case, conflict started. Some of them moved to court, opposing this the decision by the old man. And as we speak now, the company is facing liquidation, which is the worst step for any business. Of course, we'll be coming to restructuring, but so how do you ensure that you carry everybody on board and there is consensus that we as a family, we have agreed that our family business, in case of the leader, kicking the bucket or exiting the business, this is the person who is supposed to take over?
Actually, it's a very unfortunate thing that most businesses thrive in. When the owner dies, the business also collapses. Actually, there are some fundamental issues that most family business don't take into account, like management of finances. When most of them, they think that because the company belongs to the family, all the finances are families and no one should be answerable. If you look at most of these companies that are going under today, there are key factors. One of them is cash flow management. They don't know how to manage their cash flow. Either they divert for their personal use or they divert to diversify at the expense of the core of the business. For instance, the example you've given us of some retail chains, maybe they divert funds to other investments. Maybe they take funds because there is this notion, African notion, that this is family money, not my money. So the more I acquire some for myself, the better for me. Then they lack leadership skills. Because it's a leader who will know that I have a challenge in this. I need to go to a college. I advance in this and this course so that I can run this company better. But now, when you have that notion that I know it all, it becomes a challenge because you can't allow ideas from outside. Then trust is also another big issue in these retail chains. Not retail chains, in all companies across the board. Trust is also a very big challenge. Then lack of clear vision. Once the proprietor of this company dies, they lack a sitting whereby they come and say that we set our future to be like this. When the owner is not there, they lack direction, future direction. When they lack future direction, it means that they just go, sell, buy, that's it. Not knowing where you are going. It's like telling a blind person to go to KICC today. They won't know. They'll hit a lot of, and they might not even get there. They might be knocked by a car. So when the owner dies and the company has not been prepared well, that is the kind of situation they are in.
I mean, let me ask you this. As a family, this is a family that is, this is a business owned by maybe a wife and a husband, or a husband and a wife, however you look at it. You have your kids, and it is the wishes of every parent that, for their children to pursue careers, that will be fruitful and that will be satisfying, and that is in the line of their passion. And here you have a business that is completely different from the career paths that your children want to take. So how do you integrate them into the business? For example, you're in the business of transport, and maybe your kids, one of them wants to be maybe a pilot, the other one would want to be a teacher, the other one would want to be a doctor, but you're in the business of transport. So how do you bring them on board to become part of this business movement?
Actually, what happens, or the ideal situation would have been, when the business is still young and the children are still young, incorporate them in the business, let them go, maybe transport, let's assume it's transport of a matatu business or something. Let them go and see how they are run. Let them go and know that when money is collected, they take it to the SACCO, they do ABC and D, the kind of expenses that are incurred, the way to authorize those expenses, and who to give the finance, who to handle the finances, all the different departments. Like for instance, in the matatu industry, there is the fueling. Let the children know how the fuel system goes on, whether it's by card, whether it's by cash, whether it's by purchase orders or the rest. Let them know marketing. If they want to venture into another market, what happens? Let them know. Though they're in different sectors, let them at least have an understanding of what daddy or mommy does in that industry. Once they does that, then let them understand the marketing aspect of it, whether, assuming they have a SACCO and they are bringing in people in the matatu sector, the SACCO. Once they understand all the specific areas of that, they are in a better position. But the problem now comes in, where like you're in the matatu industry, and the people you are bringing in are like from the medical background. Those are two different backgrounds. Because in the matatu industry, you have to stand your best, and in the doctor's area, the medical industry, you are so polite, so professional. So at times it becomes tricky to adopt, but ideally the professionalism in the doctor's industry, in the medical industry, should be the same professionalism in the matatu's industry. Like when they introduced these double matatus, it had a very unique way of doing things. At one point, it's even the same model was adopted by 2NK. They brought in some ladies, well dressed. They had the very polite way of talking to their customers. That is if it is a family business, let them understand these things. Let them be creative. Let them strive to take it to a higher height, not just to the way we know matatu industries here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But in case you find that your hairs are not compatible with this completely, I'll advise you look for professionals to run it on their behalf.
There are steps that you have to follow when you are coming up with a succession plan for your business. Can you take us through them?
Okay, some of the steps that you have to follow is to identify the future. Where do you want to go as a business? Once you identify the future, we can use the matatu industry. We are currently in Nairobi. We want to go and start operating in Nakuru and the other areas. You look at internally within the family. Do you have those qualities? Do you have those attributes of someone who can take the company to that level? Once you find you have, it's a plus. If you don't have, you start now trying to build them. From there, you look at the gaps that are there
in business.
Yeah, the gaps that are there in the family, in the context of the business now. Mm-hmm. The gaps that are there. Even if this person has the qualities, what does he or she require to advance? At least to be like the owner or perfect more than the owner. From there, you look at the ideas that they have. When you look at the ideas they have, in line with that business, they can introduce these instead of cash way of operating, they swipe. They look ideas. I mean, the most efficient way and the most effective way of operating the business, and then you implement the best idea. You can test run. Maybe I will advise that whoever the owner of the business is the family, but the the person who started the business, they should take like a few days off, or they should run with this potential candidate in future. That is the way to grow, and those are the steps. At least when you do that, by the time, even if the person exits, take a holiday, takes early retirement, or then unfortunate events, the person dies, there is someone who is competent enough to run it. If from the second step of identify the talents that are there, you found that it's a pure mismatch, there I'll advise you go for professionals to run on behalf.
Yeah. You've looked at the company internally, and you have discovered that you do not have the potential expertise that could run this company in the next 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now. And now you have to focus on outsourcing. How do you then identify the best company that can help in the crafting of a succession plan for your business?
When you look at your company and you realize that you don't have the skills necessary, the requisite skills to run it for the next so many years, you go and start looking for, you start outsourcing that service to another person to help you run it. And the way to do it is that my advice is that you look at yourself, you map the company and you map your family. By mapping, I mean you look at the take details of the company, like you do a gap analysis of the company, so that you know where need is, where which areas are needed to be promoted. Once you do that, now you look at the available service providers. You try to match the need versus the demand for your company versus what the market supplies, and you have a sit down with them and you discuss. Basically, it's not as easy as that, because at times you might go into trap. In Nairobi these days there are so many things. So my advice is that contact people who had similar problems and they were able to resolve them. When you contact them, they give you good referrals, credible referrals. That one, it can help you to craft it. But the bottom line is that when you're crafting the succession plan, or when you're consulting people to do it for you, you have to have a focus. Because when you go there and you're just vague, you tell them, I just want the business to be open, be very open for them to understand you properly. Let them know where the vision started, where it is now, and where you wanted it to be. It is until that point that they can now know how to assist you. But when you're not open to them, it might be very difficult for them to give you a good result.
Look here, I mean, we're discussing succession planning. It takes tears, sweat and blood, hours of planning to come up with a business. It is a desire of each and every one of us that you start a business that will outlive you, outlive generations. And the question is, how do you get to that point? And that's why we're having this conversation around succession planning. I know you're out there, you've done this before, and the ideas that you have, get in touch with us at O'Brien. Kimani is my Twitter handle. At KBC Channel 1, let's just get to hear how you handled this issue, because it can be a thorny subject within a family, and if not well handled, it has the potential to break the family or even to dissolve this business. That is not what we want. We want a situation whereby everybody is carried on board and everyone feels that they are part of this business. The question is, how do you get there? And this is the kind of conversation we're having here in the studio with Stephen Kang'ethe. He's a business restructuring expert as well as a succession planning expert. He's joining us here. And so we are discussing, how do you see a talent, or how do you identify a talent that I, as O'Brien Kimani, I mean, this kind of business, I have identified this person to be the one who will take over me once I exit the stage, because you cannot dance forever. The dance floor is not for you forever. So do you inform them?
Yes, you inform them. Actually, this is a continuous process. It's not an end to. It's not an end. It's just a process. What happens is that, like for instance, a family business is very interesting because it's presumed that you grow together, you dine together, you spend your time together. So it is very easy for you to learn who is a spendthrift, who is all the characters. You can tell because you are for one family. Actually, you need to be talking to them. Like the way we talk to our children, and we tell them that, I want you to read well because tomorrow you'll have your own family. Read well so that you can support your own family. The same talk should come here. Read well, okay, like how you used to be told when you're young that so many vijana, you'll get a good job. There was that slogan. So the same way, you need to be talking to your children that this business, let them understand that this business feeds them, this business clothes them, this business is everything to them. Remove the business from their lives and they are doomed. They go to the slums. Until they understand that, it is very difficult for them to have the sense that the initiator of the business wanted. So what happens is that you talk to them and you let them understand. Culture change is very difficult, and this is the problem with succession management, because you're used to, like for children and probably the wife, assuming the husband is the owner of the business, you're used to be given. So once you exit from the business, maybe you kick the bucket or you retire, take another retirement, the subjects that used to be given, if they don't change their minds from being given to creating now, it becomes a problem, because they'll be going there just to take. They don't know how to create, they just know how to take.
We've seen companies whereby, the replacement planning is usually a well-guarded secret, and it is not revealed until the last minute, whereby when, for example, the chairman of a company or the chairwoman of a person of a company is retiring, that is when they inform the company during their final AGM as chairpersons that in the spirit of ensuring there is success and growth in this company, we have identified Mr. or Mrs. So-and-so to take over the reins of leadership in this company. Is that a good strategy?
It's a good strategy because that's an established company. In most family businesses, that doesn't happen. But for established companies, it does happen. It is a good strategy because it safeguards so many other external factors to the business. When you hear that there's a change of leadership in the company is perceived to be weaker than the way it was. Like for instance, when Michael Joseph left Safaricom, people didn't know what kind of a new leader is coming in. When Bob Collymore left and Ndegwa took over, there were those uncertainties. People avoid that. In the corporate industry, it even affects the shares of the company, the value of the company it affected. So it is better to hold it until it is the right time to pass over the information. But for a family business, I'll advocate for, let us talk and we know from the word go that daddy likes working with this person, mommy like working with this person, so that whoever is manning the company, when they go, at least even if they are not told, they know that this is the right person, because they know the qualities and they know everything about this person. Yeah, the do's and the don'ts, the weaknesses and the strengths, they know them. And that is why it is always important it is like there are those expressly told and there are those perceived. Like in a family setup, the firstborns are small parents. Assuming that is a scenario, because of the responsibilities that the firstborns have, and for your information, they turn out to be very mature because they have so many obligations in the family. So it is taken that even if they take over, it is well. The problem comes in when you take the lastborn there, like the biblical case of David. That is a problem, because people are perceived to be biased and it brings some more conflicts. But once you tell them in advance, I always advocate for people to do their will in advance. Let us know what you want us to have and where you want us to go. If you leave it under bad luck, sometimes you might go before even the will. It brings chaos in the family.
So you have identified that person ABC, AB will take over the reins of leadership in this company. Do you tell them?
Yes, you do. But you can tell them to hold, but they know. Let them prepare. Let them psychologically be prepared. At times, you might be given some information and it actually distorts your judgmental capability. Like a good example, when people take these betting things, when you get a lot of money, it makes you not think properly because of that information. But when you are prepared in advance, you can articulate that thing and start planning like the leader that the person wants you to be. It's important to tell them.
You also have a situation whereby some people, when they discover that I'm finally going to take over, the mantle from my father, from my mother, from my big brother, my sister, or whoever, in running this business family, they start riding roughshod on the other people, and that's why sometimes you advise not to tell a potential successor that the other one taking over. But in case you'd want to tell them, then how do you help them immerse in that kind of an information? How do you now start preparing them to be the leader that you want them to be tomorrow?
Actually, the question here is which is more dangerous? You probably die and you leave billions in your account, and I come to learn that I'm the one to man it. Or when I'm with you, you prepare me, and then when you die, at least I knew that I was the one to take over the place. So it is better to prepare in advance rather than to have that surprise shocks the last minute. Usually you make some decisions that are not right at all. But in either way, no one is perfect. I advocate for, whenever you want to have succession plan, let the person go for some further training. Education is very good. Training on management can go to, we have very good schools doing management courses. Training on the various aspects based on the key aspect of the business, based on the core line of the business, the core business of the business. At least the person to have a general understanding, so that you don't just go there blindly. Just go there just to be told what to do. This is what happened, this is what happened. You don't even know what this means. Like for instance, whenever a person is taking over, I will advise them to go for some financial training, because when the accountant comes and tells them that we made 100 million profit, we made this and this loss, you can't understand. What you know is that you have money in the bank, but you don't know that the component of this money is not your money. So it is always good when you tell them, let them prepare in advance, let them go for the specific courses they need so that they can upgrade in their competence. Yeah.
And in a situation whereby, a company was running smoothly, but because of ABCD, or because of unforeseen circumstances, the company runs into headwinds. Like, for example, we know so many companies are struggling because of COVID. But now we have to adapt. We have to accept that we are living in a different environment, the so-called the new normal. And you get to a point whereby now you have to change tact. Now you have to restructure. You have to be different. You have to reorient your business, into another direction. How do you get to that point? The business of restructuring.
Actually, restructuring is the new normal of today's business, because the way business used to be done years back is not the way they are done today. Business, the environment are different. The regulatory bodies are different, as in the taxes, what you're supposed to do. So restructuring is a very important thing in businesses today, because it brings in some new way of doing things. It makes them competitive, makes businesses efficient, and they refocus on where they want to go. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when you're restructuring a company, what other factors do you consider before you can say, now we need to do A, B, C, D, and we need to tap into these talent?
Okay, when you're restructuring a company, there are some factors that make you restructure. These are some of the factors that make you restructure is you restructure because in most cases you have a problem, a financial problem. Some of the factors that trigger you to do the restructuring process is like when you have cash flow problems. Cash flow problems is a bit wide. It means that maybe the control systems, the internal control systems are not good. You can't manage your stock. You can't deal with your suppliers. You can't pay your suppliers on time. And basically, when obligations fall due, when you're required to pay something, you have a problem. So that is what we refer to as cash flow problems. Whenever you spot that, you know there's a problem in the company. Then another thing, when you start getting some conflicting information from the company, this manager says this, the other manager says this, and they are relating to the same thing, you should know there's a problem with that company. Mm-hmm. Another one is when you persistently have the desire to acquire financing, external financing, selling of nominal shares. It means the company has some problems because they are trying to attract some more funds. Usually when there is new competitors in the market, it may require you to restructure so that you can align yourself with the new normal, because you can't assume that how you used to sell when because the only company that doesn't require that, like in Kenya, is Kenya Power, is a monopoly. Otherwise, all the other companies, even hospitals, you see this one opening here, the other one opening in the next mall.
There's competition.
All companies, competition is too stiff, so you have to look for new ways, to align yourself with the markets.
Mm-hmm. Before 2015, corporate Kenya used to operate in a very haphazard way, but with the coming into effect of the Insolvency Act, that came into force in 2015, companies were given a new lease of life, that if a company is going through financial challenges, if a company is going through management issues, it doesn't automatically means the death of the company. There are other instruments that can help salvage this company, and one of them is getting qualified managers, to manage your business. And this is part of the restructuring process. Yes. So, at what point do you, as a leader of the company, get to know that this company, we need external help? We need to tap the expertise of administrators, to get on to come on board.
Actually, what happens is that when you realize that the company you're running is having problems, and in most cases financial problems and leadership problems, because they're the key things that make any company fall: financial, leadership, management. When you realize you can't pay your suppliers that have given you money, actually it is the suppliers that go to court and say that we need to recover our money, and the only way to recover our money is by holding your assets. So, but as the leader of the organization, you should, before it gets to that point, you should look for experts to come and try to salvage the company and do restructuring. Restructuring in the sense that you try to renegotiate with the suppliers for some more favorable terms, renegotiate with your bankers for some more favorable terms, tap into other markets, renegotiate with your customers. For instance, if you're selling and you're given some credit days, some long credit days, you can renegotiate with them to explain to them that you have some financial difficulties, so that they can shorten the time to make good your cash flow problems. You can also go to the extent of looking for other people to sell shares to because when it goes to the point that as a creditor goes to the to court and they are given rights to attach your properties, there you have no rights. So it is the role of the readers and the managers to ensure that before it goes to that point, we do everything we can do to ensure that we salvage the company, we salvage the image of the company, even if it is going to take some little longer to repay these people, but at least to repay them.
In corporate Kenya, and until recently, when we used to hear that a company has gone into administration, it has been placed under administration, we automatically knew that this was the end of this company, because the next step was liquidation. And liquidation is a final process, of winding up a company whereby you attach the property and the assets of this company. But this is somehow changing. But how then do we build this confidence that, hey, look here, when a company is placed under administration, it doesn't mean that it's the death of this company. It means that this company, it needs to be relooked into, it needs to be restructured. How do we bring about that confidence in corporate Kenya?
Actually, that is where we need good leaders who sell the word of confidence to them, because spoken words are very important. You need to come clean. Tell people that it is true, we are facing these difficulties, but these are something that we can overcome this. Just give us time. Because initially, as you have said, when you go into management, people knew that you will soon be liquidated and that's the end of you. But right now, the managers that we have, though some are still going under, but they try to salvage the company, even if you are going to scale down the operations, but they salvage, no matter how small scale it is, instead of making the whole company go under. Communicate with the customers, communicate with all the stakeholders, because all the stakeholders are involved when you talk of a company. Communicate with the government on some tax holidays, communicate with the suppliers for some better terms, communicate with the banks for some longer loan period. Just communicate with them. Yes, and then you act. Don't just communicate and you stay back. Act. No, do a very good SWOT analysis, do a very good gap analysis, and you know the key areas that are killing the company, then address them. If it is people, change them. It is the systems, change them. Change things. At least if it is the processes, you change them, you attain your objective. You should have a goal. At this point, it is a critical stage. You should have a goal that how we are going to, after restructuring, how we are going to overcome this big burden. You work out a plan with them. Once you work out a plan with them, you ensure that it is implemented to date. I like this case of when Uchumi went under, the CEO, the then CEO. He was very good in communicating.
That was Jonathan Siano.
Yeah, Jonathan Siano. He was very good in communicating, and he was giving updates. That builds confidence even for all the stakeholders. So that is the way to.
Where some very important discussions are going on here in regard to succession planning as well as business restructuring. And of course, this comes at a time when the issue of information sharing, especially among Credit Reference Bureau, has come into sharp focus from the Central Bank of Kenya because of the critical nature of data. Before we wind up our first interview this morning, of course, I want to give Mr. Stephen Kang'ethe his chance now to definitely alert us or give us a heads up on what should be the way forward. And so, Stephen, briefly tell us this. I mean, there are companies there that are struggling. They are absolutely not, they do not know where to go from here because of the COVID-19 pandemic. What advice would you have for them?
Okay, thank you very much. Most of the companies today are struggling, not because of their own internal problems, but because of the environment problems, the external problems they have no control about. Now back to the internal problems that companies usually have, it becomes quite a difficult thing. Well, from here, there are some things indicators that one needs to know. Number one, check whether you are able to meet your financial obligations. Check whether you are meeting as per required, not too many, not too few. Check whether you are getting reports for your business or you are developing reports for your business. Check whether the numbers don't lie. If your profits are saying that you are making profits and you are not growing, your profits are saying that you are going under, take action at the right time. Take action today. Don't wait for tomorrow. If you need some more assistance, okay, there are some departments that are very important, like always check at the finance department. Check at the reports they are producing to you. Always check at the marketing department, because it is the core of the business. All businesses get their business from the marketing department. Always check on the reports they are giving and be reactive to them. Always check at the human resource department, because human resource is the greatest asset of a company. And finally, adapt to changes that are happening in the market, whether technological, whether models of operating, or anything, whether it's family business, whether it's corporate, any business, be sensitive to what is happening in the environment and also change. Finally, if you need some more assistance on this, you can contact us at Lilac Consultants. You can go to our website, www.lilacconsultants.co.ke, and we can share more.
Very good. Thank you very much indeed for your insight, of course, on this program, and we look forward to engaging with you more in the future.
Thank you.
All the best. We have been discussing the business of succession planning as well as restructuring. How do you tell and when do you tell that a company is actually in need of a serious restructuring, and at what point do you draft a succession plan for your business? You have had it all from Stephen Kang'ethe. This is Base Check. Our discussion next is on the prevailing food situation in Kenya. The National Drought Management Authority has raised concern, saying that almost 2 million people in Kenya, in about 20 counties, are facing starvation. And they have said that they have upscaled interventionary measures. And the question is this: how do we deal with this situation going forward? This is Base Check. We are back after the break.